Yes, greetings, blessings, people. We're here, we're live and direct on the Big Bad Station, AvaranRadio.com, with yours truly, DJ Kat, and I have a very special guest. Okay, I'm very excited to have this special guest on my show. So, of course, special guest, let the people know who you are and a little bit about yourself.
Greetings, people. My name is Avaran, reggae artist hailing from out of the Bahamas. And I think my music will actually speak for itself. Just take time, take a listen. AvaranMusic.com. I've been in the music business for a while, in and out, not consistent, but I'm trying to get more consistent in this time. So, yeah.
I hear that.
I just want to say this, let's give thanks for DJ Kat for having me today.
Anytime, King, you're always welcome. And you know, you said there about you want to be more consistent in this time. What's made that be kind of your goal for this year? What brought that on?
Earlier on in the music business, man, it's like there's a lot of sharks in the music business, and it took me by surprise. So I actually took a break from the music business. I tried to learn more about the music business and try to take more ownership.
Okay.
And what I did in the music business, so that was basically it.
Yeah, I hear that. And you are so right. I mean, even as a DJ, you see things and you hear things and you think, wow, that's not what I signed up for.
Exactly.
That is not, but hopefully there's a good bunch of people that can keep coming together and keep progressing, which is what we need.
Yeah, I just need the positive, straight up people to come my way, you know what I mean?
100%. And let's talk about your journey, because you've had an incredible journey. And I know you shared the stage with Lucky Dube. Tell us about that one.
Yeah, that Lucky Dube show happened in Miami Beach, Florida. It was actually my first show on stage.
Wow.
I opened for Lucky Dube. I wasn't 100% sure who Lucky Dube was at the time.
Yeah.
But by the end of the show, I actually learned who he was.
Wow.
So
yeah.
That show was actually a blessing.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, now I'm sure for yourself that created some pathways for you and also showed who you are as an artist.
Yeah, definitely did. After that show, I actually started my album. I met a producer by the name of Carl Peterson. If you're not familiar with Carl Peterson, Carl actually did a lot of work with Bob Marley, Peter Tosh, Steel Pulse, Burning Spear. I think he's more notably Bob Marley, Exodus album.
Yeah. Okay.
And Steel Pulse.
I hear that. Yeah.
So we started the album, and I did a complete album by the name of Short Rope.
Yes.
So from that time to this time, Short Rope is still out there, and it's my first album.
Wow. I mean, what a blessing. I mean, by that time, you've been on stage with Lucky Dube. You've met one of the greatest kind of producers, I would say. And
yes.
And then you've created an album. I mean, wow.
Yeah. It's like you're listening to the story and you don't hear the downside, you only hear the upside, but it's not as a straight path as we speak about it. So
True. I hear that. And I know you've shared the stage as well with so many greats like Luciano, Sizzla, Mikey General. I mean, that shows as well what kind of artist you are, in the sense of a rootsy kind of positive artist.
Yes, also, I shared the stage with Dennis Brown, Gregory Isaacs, John Holt, Michael Rose. I did a tour with Michael Rose in Europe. Capleton, Yami Bolo, Anthony B. So the list is like extensive.
Yeah. And I mean, for you as an artist, because like you said, we only see the bit on the stage, I'll be honest. So what are some of the navigations you have to do as an artist? What do you think about before you hit that stage and before you go into the recording booth? What's going through your mind?
Before I go either record or on the stage, try to have a clear mind, not thinking of anything negative, because I want the best positivity to come out of what I'm doing. So yeah, that's basically it. Positivity and love and just light,
Yeah, I hear that, because I'll be honest, even myself as a DJ, before I hit the stage, I I'm quite nervous, you know. So do you have nerves as well?
I would say when I first started out,
Yeah.
you know, it's like just pure nervousness. Like I was speaking to someone and I was telling them about a show that I did with Luciano Sizzler and Mikey General.
Yeah.
That show, when I came on stage, I was like off key. I was like off key badly.
Okay.
And you know, in my mind, I can remember it until this day. I was thinking of how I can get back on key. And you know, I was singing when I was looking at the crowd, and you know, the faces were not too happy. But when I actually got back on key, I could see the faces of the people were like, yeah, you know, sound proper.
Yeah.
You know, so it's just try to just keep it clean, you know.
I hear that. And I mean, when you are around and you're doing what you're doing, what's some of the advice that you've taken on board? Because you know, there's criticism, positive criticism, and then there's just criticism like noise. So what's some of the things that you've taken on board that you think, yeah, that's a good idea actually?
You know, there's one advice that I can remember getting from Carl Peterson, right, when I was recording the album with him. You know, he was saying that for this music, for it to go for the world,
yeah,
you know, just sing more clearly, like so everybody can understand you, not just some people understand, some people don't understand. So you know, you try to get into the patois or the broken English, you know, just try to keep it straight, and it will go further.
I hear you, because I'm sure that was one of the things that Bob Marley decided to do as well, which was so that everyone can understand him. He had these little twangs here and there, but so that everyone can hear what was going on and what he was saying in his messages. He kept it as clear as possible. So yeah.
Yes, that is true.
I like that advice. But you know, sometimes we have to still add the twang.
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
Yeah, I hear that. So, I mean, you've been to Europe. How did you find Europe, and are you on the way back to Europe?
I actually just came from Europe about 2 weeks ago, maybe even less than that.
Okay.
And you know, the first time I went to Europe was in 1999, 2000. I did a extensive tour with Michael Rose.
Yeah.
You know, we did Germany, France, Luxembourg, Belgium.
Yeah.
There was a lot of dates, so that was like a very learning experience on the road.
Okay.
So you know, and I actually went back to France on my own. I did shows in almost every city in France, from the north straight down to the south in Marseille, the different cities. So yeah, France I consider to be my spot. So you know, I always got love in France.
Oh, nice. So what was it about France that you think kind of drew to you?
You know, I met a producer by the name of he called himself Marshall Nico today.
Okay.
And I did a few songs for him, and you know, he started introducing me to other producers.
Yeah.
So you know, I ended up doing a lot of singles for different producers all over France. I did some for some UK producer, German producer, Pow Pow in Germany. Man, it was like so much. I can't even remember some of them.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Nice. Because I wanted to ask you this question, which has been a question I'm sure you've heard a few times, which is about how Europe seems to have taken on reggae in particular and sound system, and kind of it's grew and grew and grew, but it doesn't seem to be the same, say, in the Caribbean as such. So I wanted to ask you, is that the case, or is it a case that we're just not looking hard enough?
I would say this.
Yeah.
You know, reggae music originated in Jamaica, you know, and I wouldn't want to say that it's not appreciated from where it came from.
Yeah.
But you know, most time when it goes out into the world, you know, other people may appreciate it more than the original spot. You know what I mean?
I hear you. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I take to be happening.
Okay. Because, like I said, there's festivals every single year in Europe, as you know, and it.
Yes.
Don't get me wrong. It excites me when I see these festivals. But there is a part of me that's like, it would be great to see more and more in the Caribbean, in places such as Africa, you know, kind of I don't know, in the homeland, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I do understand. Yes, definitely true. But you know, I do think that Africa is coming on board, and you know, reggae is being more accepted. And I mean, I would say this: even if the reggae music in Africa was always being played, now you can get an understanding, and it's getting out there. You know, it's not like it wasn't being played. It was always being played, but you just wasn't getting the exit of it coming out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Because as you're aware, these past kind of years, Afrobeats has exploded and become well, gigantic, as you know. But then I always think, I don't know, reggae's still up there for me. It surpasses any kind of other genre for me. And I do hope and want the youth, you know, because obviously the youth draw more to Afrobeats from what I can see. But I would love for them to draw to the roots as well. How are you seeing it?
You know, with Afrobeats, you know, everything stems from reggae, even hip hop. Like I was speaking to someone earlier. And you know, reggae is the main source. Everything else branches off of reggae. So
100.
You know, reggae will always be there, always.
Yeah. And you know, it excites me when I hear that, because to me, there's nothing like it. There's nothing like that feeling and hearing and, you know, being around it.
Right. It's exactly. I feel you on that.
Yeah. So I mean, do you perform with a live band, or are you do you do PAs? How do you work on stage?
If I do have the option to work with a live band, that's my first option.
Yeah.
But you know, in this business, you don't always get what you want.
Yeah.
You know, I've taken a break from the music business, and I'm trying to just get more consistent, trying to build again, and try to get back out there. So if you have any promoters and producers or whatever, just know that Avaran is here.
Yeah.
AvaranMusic.com, and I'm here just to you know, get back out there and get back on the road and try to do some things, you know.
I hear that. And I know as well you've done a few Lovers Rock tracks, and you know Lovers Rock is from the UK itself, and we love Lovers Rock. So what drew you to it, apart from the obvious?
You know, when I first started in the music business, I stayed away from Lovers Rock because, you know, I had to sing that, you know, for me.
Yeah.
I had to sing, like, for me, persons that sing Lovers Rock would only sing Lovers Rock to get women. You know what I mean?
I hear that.
Yeah, but yeah, I never had to sing Lovers Rock to get a woman. So, I mean, but it may not have been that way, but you know, that just was my thought of it.
Okay.
But you know, this last song that I did, Love Cry, it actually came from the heart. It's kind of a true story, so you know.
Oh, nice. Yeah, because I was going to ask you about that tune, because that tune there is different, first of all. That's like a plea in a song.
Yes.
So,
yes, definitely.
I mean, I want to say, how did it come about? Because that's, like I said, it's a different kind of energy, that song.
Yeah, you know, Love Cry, if you listen to it, you know, it says that when love breaks your heart, you always remember the first time love breaks your heart. And that would be for everyone.
Yeah.
Every time you're in a relationship and something goes wrong, you know, that first time, it always comes back into your memory. You know?
Very true.
And you know, Love Cry, it doesn't even have to be on a relationship level. It could be on a family level, or you know, something like that. You know, so
yeah,
but
very true.
For me, this one was on a relationship level for me.
Yeah, and I mean, do you think that person's heard it? You never know.
No, you know, I really never even thought about it. You know, it's been so long that
Wow, definitely. I mean, the listeners that are locked in, they're saying that they kind of want the other person to hear it, and I'm like, wow. I mean, I don't know what to say about that. I don't know what to say about that.
Yeah, I'm trying to start some trouble.
Oh gosh, tell me about it. Now they're sending smiley face emojis and all sorts going on. And I hear that you performed at Hootenanny. How was that for you?
I did. That was a little while ago. I performed at Hootenanny at Cecil Rubin's. I think he had a birthday bash. That was actually my first time performing in England.
Oh,
so
wow,
it was interesting.
Okay.
It was interesting. Yeah.
Interesting in a good way, or you were just like, what is happening?
No, it was actually in a good way.
Oh, that's good. That's good. That's good to hear.
Yeah, it was in a good way.
I mean, that was your first performance in the UK. How did you find the UK? How did you kind of take it?
Yeah, man, I love the UK. The UK to me is a very interesting place. You know, I'm from the Bahamas, so we were under UK rule. So I'm more familiar with the UK laws and all this type of stuff. But the UK to me is very nice.
Okay, it's got a vibe to it, definitely, but the concrete I'm not feeling. I've been here all my life, and the concrete of it, not great. I'd rather be in the Bahamas.
I feel you on that. For me, most of the time I love to visit places, but home is always home in the Bahamas, so I wouldn't change it for nothing in the world.
I hear that. And talking about that, I mean, Bahamas, people are mentioning online, they're asking, they haven't heard many artists from the Bahamas in regards to reggae. And I want you to tell me about, is there a scene out there? What's it like? And who can people check out apart from yourself?
In the Bahamas, the reggae scene is, it's I would say it's very, very young.
Okay.
Very. You have a few artists out here.
Yeah.
That I wouldn't say that they get that international exposure.
Okay.
For me, I would say that probably I would be more exposed internationally, and even though it's not on a big stage.
Yeah.
But you have artists like Jahem.
Oh yeah.
He's pretty good.
Yeah, I've heard of Jahem.
Yes. You have another called Janine. Let me see. Basically all that I can remember at the moment who I would say could make an impact.
Okay, I hear that.
Yeah.
Wow. So we're calling for all the artists out there in the Bahamas to do some more works. Is that what we're saying? Yeah, because I'll be honest, I would love for all of the Caribbean islands. I know people always focus on Jamaica, but I would love for all of the Caribbean kind of artists to get together and create a festival or something where all of the artists can do what they do best. What do you reckon to that idea?
Yeah, that actually is a good idea. I don't know if they did have something like that before, but that is a great idea. I don't know where they would hold it, but it would be great.
That would be the question, where would it be held and so on and so on. But I do think as kind of the reggae, I want to say fraternity, but I'm not sure if that's the right word, but have something where people can say this is mine, and I think that's that's a nice thing to have, because like I said, there's so many people have their hands in the pie, but it'd be nice to have something,
Yeah, and you got the gatekeepers that keep people out. You need to let go the gates, man.
100%. And let's talk about that, because it's something that I don't think is really spoken of. It's there and people know about it, but it's not really spoken of too much. So, do we need gatekeepers, or are you saying that people just need to let it be free?
Yeah, I think it should be free, man, because, gatekeepers, they pick and choose who they would like to make it through. And you got a lot of talent out there that is just sitting back and they're trying, but they're not advancing.
Yeah.
Because of the gatekeepers,
100%.
I also spoke about something the other day about streaming services.
Okay, yeah.
Streaming services are a rip-off.
Yeah. 100%.
Trust me, it's a rip-off. It's good if you want to put your stuff on streaming services just for promotion.
Yeah.
Because young artists, little artists, small artists, whoever you want to call it, they don't really make anything from streaming services. They don't.
Yeah.
So That's just the way it is.
It is, but I also think that there's a part of me that's like, what if we created our own streaming service, or create, you know what I mean? Like, we don't have to follow fashion necessarily. I know people do because it's easier as such,
Yeah.
but could we not do something ourselves? You know?
Yeah, that's something to look into.
Yeah, 100%.
Something to look into. Yeah.
I feel like we need to start it.
Yeah. Because we sit here, we talk about it, we cry about it, but we don't do anything about it. So yeah, I think that's something you can look into.
Yeah, 100%. So, I mean, for yourself now, when it comes to the music and so on, what were your influences? What did you, before you got into music as such, what were your influences?
I would say I was influenced by Garnet Silk.
Oh, nice, yeah.
Yeah, I was tell you no lie.
Mm.
You got Garnet Silk, you got Barris Hammond.
Yeah.
Those type of those singing artists that sings from the soul, you know what I mean? From the heart and soul.
I hear
so,
that.
yeah, that's basically where I'm coming from. Dennis Brown, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Beautiful voices. All three of them that you've mentioned have beautiful voices and a message, which, I'll be honest, I feel like there's a good few artists, like a handful of artists that are shedding the message, but there's quite a lot that are kind of just singing for the sake of it.
Yes, definitely right.
And for yourself as an artist, does it frustrate you, or does that make you more determined to keep pushing forward?
I think it makes me more determined because I really can't look at what another guy is doing or another artist is doing. To each their own.
Yeah.
And if I keep putting out good music, I'm get the good people to listen to me, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
As fans.
I hear that. Because I had to ask because I'll be honest, sometimes it does frustrate me in the sense of I want to see progression in this genre of music, and the ones that are kind of spreading the message and showing the message, they seem to always be kind of shoved to the back, and then all of this kind of, I'm going to say, slack kind of vibe is always pushed to the front. So that's what frustrates me, just because I can see the hard work that the roots artists in particular, such as yourself, put so much energy and effort and love into it, but just don't get that kind of the push like we mentioned before.
Yeah, it's like the other type of music, they push that because it's like they benefit off it quicker than what we're doing.
Very true. And I suppose the messages that we're kind of spreading out is against all of that. So they're not going to want, because obviously we're shutting it down, we're shutting down the system, we're shutting down all this foolishness, so they don't want that.
Yeah, true, that is true.
For real. Oh, we have a question from a listener. They're asking you a question, but they said they hope it doesn't offend you. So it's not, I don't think it'll offend you, which is a question about heritage. So they're saying, even though you're from the Caribbean, do you see yourself as an African? As a fellow African, it's difficult to show your heritage here in the UK. How do you feel about it in the Caribbean?
But I'm very big on history.
Yeah.
And I can trace my heritage back to my grandfather, great-grandfather, great-great-grandfather.
Yeah.
Who came from Africa.
Yeah.
And my grandfather one day was telling me that his mother was on a slave ship that was headed to the U.S.
Oh wow!
And they overtook this slave ship and they sailed it into an island in the Bahamas called Bimini.
Oh wow!
So, I am very, very conscious about my heritage and where I'm from. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. And it's a very serious question actually, because my grandfather was born in Jamaica, and as we did a ancestral DNA thingy, and it came back that our lineage is Nigerian. And for me, it was so powerful, you know. And yeah, I'm not gonna lie, it made me cry, because it explained a lot of things, you know. And you just think to yourself, wow, you know, what a blessing, you know what I mean? It's not a hindrance, but it's a blessing. And I just hope that more and more, I'm gonna say, people of either Caribbean heritage or people who live in the Caribbean and so on, take that on board and show it as a blessing, you know. And even as this person online of African heritage is saying that they find it difficult in the UK, I hope that they can get some joy from listening to yourself saying, yeah, we take it on board.
Yeah, hopefully they can find that, you know, I mean, if you're from Africa, if you have African heritage, there's nothing you could do about it. You it's a blessing, trust me, because Africa is the birthplace of all civilization. That's it. I mean, everything is in Africa. All the minerals, all the life, everything is there. Yes. there's a reason for that. It's so strange that you're saying about the minerals and things, because you know Burkina Faso is like in the spotlight right now, where they are, you know, like they're controlling what they have, and they're not letting the other countries like France and these other countries come and rule for what they're doing. But you know, you have a lot of sellout African countries, but you know, that particular little place, they're taking a stand against all of that. Yes, I have to big them up for that, you know, because it takes, I'm guessing it must take a lot of strength to do that, just because obviously here in the West, especially like the UK and Europe and so forth, we always kind of think, oh, we can rule everywhere. True. And you know what's a shame? Yeah. What's a shame is, you know, the news that we get is like so polluted that, you know, you don't know what to believe until you really do your research for yourself. You can't in these days and time, you cannot just listen to the mainstream media and take what they say as gospel, you know what I mean? 100% agree with that. I feel like you can hear bits and pieces of what they say, but you always have to do your research and say, okay, this is what's been told to me. I'm going to find out now what is actually the truth. You know? Definitely. Yes, definitely. So I have to ask you, because this is the next big question. People are asking, firstly, when are you coming back to the UK, and how can they get your music? Firstly, you can get my music. I have a website, Avaran Music, AVARAN music.com. Yeah. If you go on that, you can find all my links to every social media that I have. You can see the videos, you can listen to the music, all that stuff, get information, contact information also. And in regards to coming back to the UK, I am not sure. I mean, if you have some promoters out there who would like me to come through, I'm very flexible, and you know, we can work out something. Nice, I love that. So promoters, get promoted. And you know what, King, it has been a joy to speak with you, and I feel like we could go on for hours and hours on the topics that we've touched. But you know, I have to ask you, would you be up for singing a little something for the listeners out there before we go? Yeah, that could work. Okay. So whatever you're feeling and whatever you would like to sing. Yeah. You know, I have a song, Love Cry. Yeah. When love makes you cry, you always remember the first time love breaks your heart, and it hurts so deep inside when love makes you cry. You always remember the first time love breaks your heart. It hurts so deep inside. Hey, it's like I lost my best friend, got put out in the rain. I was walking for miles without a destination. Girl, you finished my words before I say a thing. Now you're walking away from love just to save your heart when love makes you cry. Yeah, man, it's all love. Wow. Whoa, what a tune. You know, I was about to well up then. Wow, what a tune. Seriously, man. Firstly, I want to say to you, congratulations on all the work that you've been putting in.
I know,
Yes, good,
I know,
thanks.
I know you've been working absolutely for years, because I've seen your work before, and I've played quite a few of your
Yeah.
tunes as well. And
Okay.
I'll be honest, each time I hear a tune of yours, I'm like, whoa. And it seems like the progression and the energy is more and more and more. So I have to say congratulations on that, because I know it's hard work that you're putting in.
Definitely, and give thanks. I give thanks for that.
Anytime. And you're always welcome to come on the show and speak to me. You're always welcome. Any kind of music you have that you really want to be pushed, etc., just let me know and I'll gladly do that.
Okay. All right. Perfect.
Yeah, man. I hope you have a blessed rest of the... Is it morning there, afternoon,
Yes.
or evening?
Right now it's 5 o'clock, around 5 o'clock p.m. So
Okay.
it's like almost evening time.
Okay, nice, nice. It's 10 here, so, you know, it's not too bad.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, man. But it's been a blessing, and thank you again.
Yeah, man. Bless up, and thanks for having me.
Anytime. Maybe now you can have a little chill after all these interviews.
I know, right?
Yeah, man. More love every time, King.
Yeah, man. Give thanks. Bless.
Bless up, bless.
All right. Yeah, man.
Yes, people, please keep on supporting, okay? That is Avaran. What a lovely guy. What a blessing to speak to him. Please do go and show him some love. Go and show him some support. And, of course, go over to his website, avaranmusic.com. Check it out every time.